The neon sign of Mel's Diner buzzed faintly against the quiet of the night. Inside, the clinking of dishes and the faint chatter of late-night customers created a steady hum of background noise. Among the waitresses moving swiftly between tables was Emily Parker, a 26-year-old woman with tired eyes and a soft smile that rarely reached her heart. To the world, she was just another small-town waitress, but Emily carried a secret dream, a dream that she rarely dared to voice out loud. Every night after her shift ended, she would sit by her small kitchen table in her one-bedroom apartment, scribbling stories into an old notebook, stories about courage, love, and the strength people find in the darkest of times. But to Emily, those stories felt like fragile whispers in a storm. That night, after finishing her shift, she returned home, placed her notebook on the table, and opened her laptop to check her emails. Her breath caught when she saw a response from the publishing house she had submitted her short story to weeks earlier. With trembling fingers, she clicked it open. The words blurred before her. "Thank you for your submission, but unfortunately..." Another rejection. Another reminder that her dream of becoming a writer was slipping through her fingers. Emily closed the laptop, pressing her palms against her face. "Maybe I should just give up," she whispered into the quiet room. A tear slid down her cheek. She was talented, yes, but doubt was heavier than any dream. The following evening at the diner, Emily served steaming cups of coffee to the regulars. Among them was a quiet older man named Henry who came in almost every night. He was always alone, always carried a small notebook, and always left generous tips. Emily noticed him because he noticed her. He had kind eyes that seemed to see through the mask she wore each day. That night, when the diner had slowed and Emily finally took a break, she sat in the corner booth, scribbling notes on a torn napkin. She thought no one was watching, until Henry's voice broke the silence. "You're a writer, aren't you?" Emily startled, quickly crumpling the napkin. "Oh no, it's nothing, just doodles." Henry smiled knowingly, tapping his own notebook. "Dreams don't die unless you let them. I can tell you've got something in you the world needs to read." Emily flushed, unsure how to respond. "I've tried, but nobody wants to publish my work. Maybe I'm just not good enough." Henry leaned closer, his voice calm but firm. "Emily, rejection isn't the end. It's just proof that you're brave enough to try. Do you know how many times the great writers were rejected before they made it? Dozens, sometimes hundreds. The only difference between them and everyone else is they didn't quit." For the first time in a long while, Emily felt a flicker of warmth in her chest. His words didn't erase her doubts, but they planted something small, something she hadn't felt in years: hope. A week later, Emily received yet another rejection. She slammed the letter onto the table, her hands shaking. Anger, disappointment, and pain collided inside her. She wanted to rip her stories apart, to throw away every page she had written. Her eyes landed on Henry's face in her memory, his kind expression, his steady voice. "Dreams don't die unless you let them." Emily sat still for a long time, staring at her notebook. Then slowly she picked up her pen. She thought about Henry's habit of leaving notes of encouragement with his bill, simple words like "keep going" or "you did great today." She had pinned one of those notes to her fridge. If Henry could believe in her, why couldn't she? With a deep breath, Emily decided to take one bold step. She found a flyer she had tucked away weeks ago. Local writing contest, share your story. For a moment, fear gripped her. What if she failed again? But then she whispered to herself, "At least I'll know I tried." She stayed up all night editing her story, pouring every ounce of her heart into it. When dawn broke, Emily sealed the envelope and dropped it in the mailbox, her hands trembling. For the first time in months, she felt lighter, not because she was certain of success, but because she had chosen not to give up. Weeks passed. Emily tried not to think about the contest, though every time the mail arrived, her stomach knotted. Then, one chilly evening, she received the letter. She opened it with shaky hands, heart racing. Her eyes widened as she read, "Congratulations, Emily Parker. You have been awarded second place in our annual writing contest." Her breath hitched. She hadn't just been noticed she had won. It wasn't first place, but it was something far more valuable. It was proof that her words mattered, that someone out there had seen her worth. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "I did it." Overwhelmed with joy, she ran to the diner, eager to tell Henry. She burst through the door, looking around for his familiar figure in the corner booth, but Henry wasn't there. The manager, seeing her searching, approached gently. "Emily, I thought you knew. Henry passed away a few days ago. Heart complications." The world seemed to tilt under her feet. She sank into the booth where he used to sit, her tears falling freely now. Then the manager handed her an envelope. He left this here for you. Emily opened it with trembling hands. Inside was Henry's familiar handwriting. Emily, believe in yourself. The world is waiting for your words. Don't stop. Keep shining. The note blurred as tears rolled down her face. He had believed in her until his very last days. In the days that followed, grief weighed heavy on Emily's heart, but so did gratitude. She realized Henry had given her more than encouragement. He had given her the gift of self-belief. One morning, Emily sat at her desk with the sunlight streaming through her window. She pulled out her manuscript, polished and refined, and slid it into a large envelope addressed to a publisher. As she sealed it, she smiled through her tears. "This one's for you, Henry." She walked to the mailbox with steady steps, her head held higher than before. For the first time in her life, she wasn't submitting her work for approval or validation. She was doing it because her words deserved to be heard and because she believed in herself. The story closes with Emily sitting at the diner later that evening, her notebook open, pen moving swiftly across the page. Her eyes glistened not with doubt, but with determination. The narrator's voice echoes softly, "When someone believes in you, they can spark a fire, but when you learn to believe in yourself, that's when you truly shine." Emily discovered that her greatest strength wasn't in her talent, but in her courage to keep going, and so can you. Emily's journey reminds us that self-belief is not something that appears overnight. It's a seed often planted by the kindness of others, but one that only grows when we choose to nurture it ourselves. Henry's encouragement lit the spark, but it was Emily's decision to keep going, even in the face of rejection, that transformed her life. She discovered that strength isn't about never falling, it's about rising every time we do. And just like Emily, each of us carries dreams that the world is waiting to see. Rejections, failures, and doubts don't define us. What defines us is the courage to keep believing, especially when it feels impossible. Because when you finally choose to believe in yourself, you don't just change your own story. You inspire others to find the strength to change theirs.